Let's fire up now, ladies and gentlemen. The first map of this best of 13 final. Navi will be attacking in the blue and Hellraisers in the red to defend.
A lot of people always ask me where I'm from. Some people can't stand the language, the accent, sorry. Some people love it, so you never know what you get out here, but it's definitely different to hear Aussie accent in the middle of Poland.
That's the thing. You're an Aussie in Poland, and you're a shoutcaster, essentially. How did you even get into this place?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was started off like a lot of lads, you know, started off back in Adelaide. I was playing video games in my bedroom in my spare time, playing plenty of sport and stuff like that. My dad played AFL for the Brisbane Bears, so we're very much a sporty family. But went through school and uni. I was still playing games on the side, and you know, I started playing a lot of games actually, sort of like 40 hours a week. I was practicing with the team, sort of getting pretty serious about it, just competitively speaking. Travelled a little bit around the country, but uni started to creep in and take up a lot of my time. So I found that I really was one or the other, right? There was no way I was going to say, yeah, I'm going to be a pro gamer in Call of Duty 4 over my uni degree. So I was studying engineering at the time, so I stuck to the uni side of things. But instead I sort of took a step back from playing competitively maybe and just moving into commentary, which I'd never tried before. But a bloke that I knew who ran like an online radio station asked me if I wanted to try it out. He was already doing it for Call of Duty 4, so it kind of worked. So I had a crack, and it turns out I was pretty decent at filling a lot of the dead air in all these radio broadcasts, which was such a big issue back then when you don't have a picture to see, right? It's not video casting like this in there, it's just radio. So you've got to paint a mosaic for a person pretty much so they know what's going on. So from there, I kept doing it. Managed to find a bit of a following, probably because I yelled all the time, I think. A lot of people enjoyed just the excitement, I guess, you get, supplementary to a game. A lot of people wanted to know what was going on in like the Call of Duty scene, so they would tune into this radio show. As time went on, you get a bit of more video content. You could video stream. I could never do that because Adelaide has crap net. Fix that, Turnbull, please. So yeah, I couldn't do much, but I had a mate who could stream in a different state, so we linked up and I did some Counter-Strike and some League of Legends as well. And then I got into water tanks. Right? That's when we started doing some stuff at PAX and stuff like that, and I got a hosting gig here and there, working with Wargaming, which was a lot of fun. I hadn't really done much with water tanks, but after that point I met a bunch of players, a bunch of Aussie pro players, and got to know them and learn about the game by playing with them. And opportunity came up to work with ESL externally to do some events. Like they gave me a chance to come to Gamescom in 2014. I think they didn't pay me for it. I said, oh, like just get me over here, you know what I mean? Like little kid in the big smoke, like gonna go check it out. So that went well, and I did a few more of those events again. They asked me back a couple of times, but the travel from Adelaide was pretty long, as you guys wouldn't be knowing right now. So eventually they asked me to stay, and here I am.
My God, Ollie, Ruenberg, this was kind of our demon all through the WGL season. We'd be sat there in the studio, Tuesday, Thursday night, we'd be like, this is going to be a 1-1, going to be a 1-1. And we were proven wrong more times than we thought here. Teams are adapting, and this new meta, as we sort of labelled it, the new hotness on Ruenberg seems to lend itself to attacking teams who can innovate.
What advice could you give them for somebody wanting to jump into the same scene as you and shoutcast?
Yeah. I get asked a lot as well, do you have a background in speaking or improv? And not really. I mean, ultimately for me, I had a crack at it, right? Like a lot of people can keep a conversation. I find Aussies generally are pretty chatty. Like it's not hard to get us talking. I think we're quite genuine and open people. So having long conversations with people are conversations that are always pretty easy to do. I think for me, I just sort of had a go, and like I put my stuff up on YouTube as well. And nowadays as well, there's so much media to propagate your content, your work, right? So back at the time, if I'd been able to use YouTube and stuff like that, it might even have been a smoother transition. But all I can say is that you look at casters and you look at them talking about the game and you go, man, I can never do that. Well, I said the same thing, and I just had a go. I just tried to listen a little bit. There's so much content available now for aspiring casters or people who want to get into the industry in general that you can see what's been done before you. The road's been paved at least for you to get some self-development going in that sense. You can see how people do it, develop your own style, which I think is more important than anything else. That's why a bloke asked me if I put it on an accent or if I put anything on. It's not. It's just me, as it should be for everyone. But watch esports, see how people do it, and just back yourself as well. I mean, you might not be the hype guy, you might be the technical guy, right? You might be the different role, the brain behind the game. You might know a lot about the game and the mechanics, and that's also really important as a caster, and that's a whole different role in itself.
So basically, a lot of it comes down to knowing your content, obviously. You can't just go in and make things up because that won't fly. How much time do you put into knowing the games you're talking about, like Tanks today, for example?
With Tanks, it kind of worked out fairly well for me. When I started getting into Tanks, I was playing it and decided to just go a little bit further, I managed to meet with some pro players as well when I cast some events, and they're Aussies, so we go to the event, we just go have a beer at the pub later on, and we were getting on like a house on fire in no time, right? It's the way it is. And I linked up with those boys as well. I was at the time managing an esports organisation called Mindfreak, which is currently still, I think, the best Call of Duty team in the country, but at the time I brought them under Mindfreak as well, and I managed them for a while because I saw potential in the blokes. But I also got to sit and watch most of the games and hear their call outs and commentary and play with them. So for me, I'm not a technical caster for World of Tanks. I'm not considered to be an expert. I'm not the guy that gives you the stats and figures. I'm the telling the story and the hype guy, but I had that experience behind me at least, which I think you should always have. I work full-time as a caster, so, I mean, a lot of that is playing the game, which is the dream, of course. I mean, a lot of the time you do need to play the game. I watch a lot of VODs. I look at a lot of what other regions are doing, what other people in my position are doing, and I keep a good eye on social media so I know exactly what's going on in the industry itself.
No light bulb yet. Can't tell. He gets the spot. The shot comes in. I don't believe it. Inspira gets it done. And now the 1v1. Inspira and Applewell, who's stuck on the side of a cliff.